Thank you, Sangha. Feel free to stretch out and unwind and massage yourselves. Enjoy a sip of your favorite beverage. We had this great talk for those of us that maybe weren't here a couple of Sundays ago, or maybe it was last Sunday, from Boz and Bobby in Grand Junction about nutrition and mindfulness and eating and mindfulness. And they talked a lot about intermittent fasting. I'm also an intermittent faster. And right now, I'm skipping one whole day of eating every week. And I usually do it on Fridays, but for a variety of logistical reasons, I've been feasting the last couple of days. And so today I'm fasting. So let me tell you, this cup of coffee tastes so good. Man, gratitude. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about gratitude. Wow. It's so fundamental. It's so core to our practice. I don't feel like we could ever talk about it enough. So I just want to focus on it now for 20 minutes and then leave lots of time to hear from all of you and how your gratitude practices are going. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot as well. Nobody learns more than the teacher, right? Oh, man. So few things about gratitude. Number one, gratitude is a practice. Right? We have to start there. Gratitude is a push-up. If you do it all day, you can do it all day. If you rarely do it, you can rarely do it. It's a muscle. It's a muscle, like everything, like all of our practices, like everything in Zen. It is not a concept. It's not a state that, descends upon us from on high. It's not a switch that we can flip and never have to revisit. It's a push-up. It's a push-up. If I want to be able to do push-ups, I have to do push-ups all the time. If I want to be able to do lots of push-ups, I have to do push-ups every day. Gratitude works exactly like this, exactly like this. It's easy to forget that, right? Because it has esoteric qualities and appearances. But it's not an esoteric thing. It's a push-up. It's very basic, actually. It's very tangible. When we practice gratitude, I want to unpack it a bit. We're actually practicing a whole bunch of amazing things, right? Because if I'm practicing gratitude, well, then I'm in a version of acceptance. Because I'm looking at something that is happening right now, and I'm grateful for it. In ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, if you've ever dabbled in or heard of this model, they talk about the reality gap, right? How distant what you're actually experiencing is from what you wish you were experiencing, right? And that reality gap, the bigger it gets, the more it hurts, right? And when the reality gap is huge, we're in a lot of pain, right? We're in a lot of pain. And so every time we lean into gratitude, every time we flex gratitude, we're practicing acceptance. We are shrinking that reality gap because we are focusing on something that is happening right now that we do want. All right. One of my favorite definitions of stress. Stress is a big word. It gets used a lot. I like to define it as wishing that this moment was something other than it is. Yeah. To the extent that I am wishing that this something different is to the extent that I am under stress. I could be really busy. I could be under incredible deadlines and pressures, but be stoked about it. right? Because I'm so happy with what I'm doing and so excited for what I'm producing. And I have so much trust in myself and in the moment and in my collaborators. Right? Stress does not exactly mean that I have a lot to do. Right? It means that I have a lot to do and I wish I had less. Right? Or worse, perhaps, it means that I have a lot to do and I wish it was something else. And I wish it was something else. It's even worse. So, right, gratitude, boom, equals acceptance. Gratitude also means non-judgment, right? Because if I'm in gratitude, that's not the same thing, right, as being in some critical judgment of things. Quite the contrary. If I can flex my gratitude muscles enough that I can touch gratitude for things that are really hard or really unpleasant or really unwelcome, right? If I can, I call that hard gratitude, right? If I can flex hard gratitude because it's there, right? So many of the worst moments in my life have produced the most beautiful flowers, right? If no mud, no lotus is true, as Thai tells us, then the darker, the danker, the stinkier the mud. What is more important, the mud or the lotus? Thank you, Shashi. Oh, that was a quote I calligraphied for him many years ago from one of our teachers, a wonderful monastic named Taifa Vu, Brother Dharma Rain. He asked me the question. What? Asked us maybe the question? I don't remember who he asked. Did he ask me? He asked me the question. What is more important, the mud or the lotus? All right. And that's a koan. You want a koan? I don't really talk about koan practice, right? Unanswerable questions. But if you want a koan, there's one I would recommend. What is more important, the mud or the lotus? Because all of my most beautiful lotuses have come out of some of my most unpleasant mud. And so if I'm practicing gratitude for that mud as it's happening, because I know, right? Because I know that that will be the compost for beauty, for future beauty, then I'm not in judgment of that mud. Right? I'm doing the opposite. I'm seeing its fullness, right? I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks, but it's gonna produce roses. Like I'm learning something right now, or I'm being really strongly encouraged to let something go right now. Or, let's say the mud is a disappointment, right? Oh man, this disappointment is so hard, but it's showing me very clearly, because it's so painful, because it stings so badly, this disappointment, showing me very clearly how my expectations need improvement. And it was showing me very clearly that I need more understanding. It's showing me very clearly that this situation needs more love, usually for me, right? If I'm the one who've just been disappointed, then usually the love and understanding has to start here, right? I have to love myself. I'm like, oh, Dave, I totally understand why you would still want your 76-year-old mom to say something different than she says. As unreasonable as that is. Well, you know what am I going to do? Tell my mom to not be my mom? I see Bernie and her mama there. I'm talking to the two of you, right? Hi, so nice to see you, Bernie's mom. Yeah. So if I'm disappointed in somebody, then it means I don't understand them well enough. And if I really understand them and I'm still disappointed, it means I don't understand myself enough. Well, because I haven't been able to let go of that expectation that just causes me pain, that just causes me disappointment. So this is in gratitude as well. This is in gratitude as well. And then another quality or fundamental thing that's happening when we're practicing gratitude is the difference between getting it right and getting it better. Right? Because if I'm attached to getting it right, then gratitude is very hard to touch because I almost never get it all right. You know, there's always that one dish that's still dirty, or, you know, I could have improved that project this. You know, 10 people signed up for the workshop. Oh, 11 people could have signed up, you know, and on and on and on. Like if I care about some kind of perfected excellence, if I care about getting it right, I have a real hard time touching gratitude, because it could always be better. You know, the Zen master Shunryu Suzuki used to say to his students, "You are perfect just as you are, and you could stand a little improvement." You know, so, you know, what I hear in that is the wisdom of 1% better. Like, can we be 1% better every day? And then, if that's my goal, right? If that's my objective, if that's my aspiration, then the opposite becomes the case. Gratitude is really easy to touch, right? Because even if everything goes wrong, even if, you know, all holy hell breaks loose, you know, and Murphy's Law makes it so that everything that can go wrong goes wrong, if all I care about is getting 1% better every day, then I can be grateful for that. I can be like, wow, okay, well, today was tough, but man, I saw how this could be improved. I saw how this could be improved. I saw how I could learn more here. I saw how I could collaborate better here. I saw how this was unreasonable to expect of myself in the period of time, and on and on and on. There's so much teaching available in what we tend to somewhat sloppily call failure. There's so much teaching in it if what I care about is just being 1% better every day. And if I'm in that proper perspective, if I'm loving myself and just hoping to improve, then gratitude, again, it's very readily available, right? It's in the room. Because as things go wrong, I can be like, well, would have been way better if that had worked, you know, but now now because that page in my website crashed, you know, I know that I have to do this, this, and this, or I have to learn this, this, and this. I'm grateful that happened. Another thing gratitude gives us, right? You see how much there is in this one practice, right? In this one word. Another thing gratitude gives us is space. Space. Life is coming at us like so fast and furious, inside and outside, right? I can be overwhelmed or burned out by all of my external responsibilities, but I can also be overwhelmed and burned out internally, like 60,000 thoughts a day, right? As modern neuroscience tells us we're experiencing. That's a lot. That's a lot. And it's really easy to just focus on all of the negative, because there's plenty of it, right? I could sit down right now with this pen and this notebook and write down 100 things that are terrible right now, like without batting an eye. Like it wouldn't take me but a couple of minutes. You know, that's true. But simultaneously, hopefully just as easily, if I've been practicing my gratitude, right, I should be able to sit down and write a list of 100 things that are awesome. 100 things that I'm just so dang grateful for. My hands. The smell of the plumerias that are still in bloom in my garden. And on and on and on. But that takes practice. And so if I don't practice my gratitude, then what I end up focusing on, because of my monkey mind, right? And after watching the Netflix documentary Chimp Empire, which I cannot recommend highly enough, I have a whole new understanding of this term that, you know, Buddhists love, this monkey mind. I was never a huge fan of it. I don't know, maybe I wasn't that into Tarzan as a kid. Like I just didn't picture myself as like a monkey, like swinging through the trees. But now that I got to see, you know, the social networking, the inner sort of thought processes, the values even of chimpanzees by watching this 4 1-hour documentary, 4 1-hour blocks, Chimp Empire. I mean, we're 99.6% chimpanzee. And when you watch them this close, you know, like looking at each other and thinking, you can see it. I saw myself. I was like, oh my God, that's me, you know? I'm exactly like that, you know? I can be violent and angry and petty and vengeful. And I also take tremendous pleasure in picking up somebody else's baby and playing with it. Oh, you get to see chimpanzees doing exactly what we do, exactly what we do. And so, yeah, like my monkey mind is designed to constantly be focused on the negative and to constantly be trying to solve the problem. And that makes my world very, very small, right? That can make my life appear to me or feel to me like one long, endless lists of problems to solve. There's no space in that. But if I'm flexing my gratitude muscle and I'm training my monkey mind to savor, to appreciate, to see the positive, all the things that gratitude does, then, whew, you know, I have so much more room. I have so much more room. I feel like, you know, the problems are still there, but they're like kind of out of here. They're not right up in my face the way my monkey mind wants to keep them. Renee asked in the chat if I can speak to how gratitude and healing are aligned. And in some way, I've been doing that this entire time, right? Because everything that I've just talked about is healing. But more specifically, my favorite definition of the word healing is John Kabat-Zinn's, the American Buddhist teacher. And he says it very simply: healing is coming to terms with what is. Healing is coming to terms with what is. And that is a bit counterculture for us, right? We picture healing as like fixing, radically transforming, removing a lot of the time, you know, sort of getting rid of, you know, anesthetizing ourselves to. These are the kinds of healing that our culture has steered us towards, not always for the best reasons, not always for reasons that are in our collective interests. And so I much prefer John Kabat-Zinn's perspective that healing is about embrace. Healing is about acceptance. Healing is about gratitude, like seeing the positive, even in the most difficult things. Even in the most difficult things. The hardest times in my life are what have shaped my character. The hardest times in my life are the spine of my values. The hardest times in my life are the ground underneath my feet. Are who I am, just as much, if not more, than my celebrations, than my triumphs. And so, in the sense that our journey of healing is a long self-embrace, gratitude is one of our most powerful tools in that journey, for sure. For sure. Thank you for your question. So you know me, I always like to keep it practical. So let me end with a practice, with something you could do. This was given to me by then nun, Sister Jewel, now lay teacher, goes by Kyra Jewel. Sister Jewel was a nun in our tradition for 15 years, from the age of like 24 to 39. Incredible Dharma teacher who specialized in teaching in really creative ways, with music, with dance, with art, No surprise, she spent a lot of her time as a monastic working with children. She was a huge part of the Wake Up Schools movement in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition that focuses on bringing mindfulness into education. And obviously, I do a lot of that. And so I learn a lot from her still. Incredible teacher, incredible teacher. And she was, when I was training to become a monk, she was still a nun. And I got to spend a winter at the same monastery as her one time. So 90 days. And I just tried to learn something from her every single time we were in the same room. Like, you could just pay attention to her and you were learning, because her practice is so solid and radiates such graceful, loving equanimity. It's a pleasure just to be in the same room with that woman. But sometimes I would ask her direct questions. And one time in direct conversation, she gave me this practice because she saw that my gratitude push-up was a little weak. You know? So she gave me some clear instructions on how to do it. She said, okay, Dave, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get into bed and count 3 things. And I do it because I'm such a tactile person. I literally, it's the very last waking thing I do, right? So my head is on the pillow, like I'm going to sleep. And I stick out these 3 fingers and I count 3 things. Something I'm grateful for from that day about myself. Something I'm grateful for of that day about another person. And something I'm grateful for from that day about the world. Right? Self, other, world. Now that's the hard way to do it. That's a bit of an advanced practice. Easier, right, would be to reverse it and to first come up with something grateful about the world, then another person, and then yourself, because we have a hard time coming up with things that we're grateful about ourselves sometimes. But I would invite you to do it the hard way. I don't always say that, right? Sometimes I say do it the easy way. But I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth it, because you'll be lying there, you know, in that quiet moment, last thing, and you'll find it. You'll have done something wonderful that day. Wow. Even if it is simple as you got out of bed and you made it through the day and now you're back in bed. Even if that wonderful thing, because sometimes the thing I'm really grateful about myself, often, is that I didn't give up. Is that I just had another day. Is that I just had another day. Survival, existence. It's not always easy. So yeah, I recommend that order: self, other, world. And let me tell you, if you do it for long enough, I've been doing it for, I don't know, more than 10 years now. You will start to have mornings where you will wake up, and if you are anything like me, because I tend to wake up somewhere on the spectrum between like despair and rage, like somewhere in there, you know, is like my normal first thing in the morning mood, you know, before this and other things and other medicines. And so, but what I see is that if I practice this gratitude practice religiously, diligently, I'll wake up some mornings and just be strangely grateful. And I kind of, you know, it feels like I'm in somebody else's house. You know? I'm like, what is this feeling? You know, and I'm just making my coffee and I'm grateful. I'm taking a shower and I'm grateful for the great water pressure my shower has. And it's because I've planted that seed the night before, and your brain, you know, it wants something to chew on. It wants something to chew on all night. And so give it something like gratitude. That's one way to flex that muscle. And another way would be to like assign something physical, like to wear a necklace or a string around your wrist or a ring or something that every time, a stone in your pocket, you know, that you have to kind of fuss with every time you're going in there for your headphones, you know, like something physical that represents gratitude to you. So you're just being reminded all the time. Yeah, it's a long game, that one. It's a long game, that one. How many times can I remind myself of it daily? How many days? Every day. I think I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for listening.